Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
I'm doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I'm surviving.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. Yeah. It sounds like you've had a pretty good weekend, doing some fun stuff and getting away from the computer and whatnot.
You make it sound like I'm just living my life. All I told you I did, this was my weekend in a nutshell. I watched one movie and I'm almost done completing a 1,000-piece puzzle within 48 hours. Purchase. I really don't think that's living the big life, but sure.
No.
Sure, Will. Sure.
Hey, that's the big life. That's the big life. I mean, that's a good, honest to goodness, chill weekend. It's like the best sometimes, you know?
Yeah. It's the end of the year. I think a lot of us right now, it's just running to Christmas break, and everyone, depending on your work situation, everyone has a different start of when that holiday kicks off. I'm very fortunate to work for a university, so there's clear closure periods that are much more extensive than maybe a private sector job. So I think we're all running that race of like, I just want to get through these next few weeks and then have a huge break. But I think really what happened is I haven't done a puzzle in years, over a decade. And then all of a sudden I started just putting together pieces, and the next thing I know, I'm looking at my my phone and I'm thinking to myself, how did 4 hours
Well, like I was telling you, that's like the sign of an awesome puzzle where you just get so wrapped up into it, you just completely lose track of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, so I guess we're playing fortune teller on these shows these days or something, because every time you and I have an in-depth conversation about something in the media, the very next day they announce it.
Exactly. It totally does happen. So I'm trying to get ahead of the curve this week.
Well, it was funny because this week what also was announced, and we'll get to WB and everything that they did, but this news about Hawkeye and the casting of Kate Bishop, Haley Stanfield has been confirmed to play Kate Bishop in the series. I am about 90% sure that it was rumored immediately after San Diego Comic-Con 2019.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
Because
she was doing the Apple TV reimagining of
Emily Dickinson.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a reimagining.
Okay, I thought it was, but anyway, but she was cast in that. But in any event.
Yeah. No, you're right. And that's also coming off of, I think Edge of 17 was 2018. And a lot of the public kind of fell in love with her during that movie. But so this week when it became official, I was just thinking to myself, yeah, I'm okay. It's good to have confirmation, but what always surprises me when we get this type of news is the set photos, because that also means they're in production. And which is a crazy thing right now, considering the lack of new content we've been getting over the past several months.
Yeah. It's funny because we when we talked about this last week, it was some not set photos, but I think someone from The Verge or something had taken a photo of the little notice that they were going to start filming a show, and I think it was Emerald Arrow or something like that. Whatever it was, I can't remember the working title, but that it was starting this past week. And of course, as we joked at the time, Haley was, like she was confirmed, but then I don't think Marvel ever officially released anything. And then of course, Grace Randolph and some others broke the news about Florence Pugh being in the Hawkeye series, and then of course we saw the set photos, and then later in the week we got additional news about additional casting for the show.
Are you talking about Florence Pugh?
Florence Pugh, but also Vera Farmiga is also
right.
So she's going to be Eleanor Bishop, Kate's mom, and then there are a couple other characters that were also named this past week as far as showing up. Fra Fee, who's going to be playing a character named Kazi, who is known in the Marvel universe as the mercenary villain, the Clown. And then let's see who else was named. Tony Dalton was another actor who was going to be playing a character named Jack Duquesne, who is a take on the Swordsman, who was an early mentor to Hawkeye. And then also, of course, Florence Pugh, and then there's a couple other characters who's going to be playing a character named Maya Lopez, who is apparently a character named Echo, who is a deaf Native American who is capable of copying and mimicking another person's fighting movements. So it looks like they're rounding out the cast, and of course we saw the photos of Jeremy Renner and Haley and Lucky the pizza dog. So yeah, I think they're aiming for end of this year, where it's going to be on end of 2021, where I think it's going to be on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know anymore. Honestly, I don't even care about the release dates.
Yeah.
Over the past several months, every time something gets announced, we've dealt with so many delays that even when they're set to be released in 2021, you're just like, okay, well, Mando Vision was all set for December, so who knows?
No, we're not getting it, and we were not getting any MCU this year, so
yes, still bitter.
Yeah, I'm still bitter about that. Yes, I am.
But for all of our bitterness, we have another studio, WB, who makes, yes, we talked about it. We said, why wouldn't they? And even though we knew it was a likelihood, on this scale, because releasing Wonder Woman is one thing.
Yeah.
Doing that. But they tripled, quadrupled the ante because they said, oh, no. We're not just releasing Wonder Woman. Our full 2021 slate will be released in theaters and on HBOmax simultaneously.
Yeah. Boom. Drop the mic.
I told my parents that.
Yeah. And
instantly they said, how much is HBOmax? They're not even superhero fans. It's just the idea of a streaming service having new content in a way that mirrors what's going on in cinemas right now.
Yeah.
It's just everyone will want it. So I am just overjoyed with that announcement.
Yeah, me too. I not only because HBO Max and Amazon Fire were able to come to a deal a few weeks ago so that Fire devices could use the service, but also, it's just been maddening how things kept getting pushed back, and it really is a game changer. Of course, the studio, a lot of the movie theater franchises and stuff are already, did push back, and of course will want to renegotiate their deals so they can get a better slice of the pie as far as revenue, because they're still hurting, and quite frankly, I mean, part of Pox is on our leadership for not doing more to help other industries like movie, the arts and others when they're dealing with the pandemic and all these shutdowns. But this truly is like a game-changing thing, and it is one of those things that once you've let this genie out of the bottle, I just don't know how.
Yep.
It's going to be, how you're going to be able to go back to the norm in 2022 and going back to the old model. I mean, theaters will definitely still have a place, but I think moving forward, this is just going to be the way that content is going to be released. And I know this week the Disney investor meeting is the 10th of this month, and it would not surprise me at all at this point that they'll say, yes, we're going to drop Black Widow in a similar type of simultaneous release, because I mean, they already have, Disney Plus already has a huge empire as it is, as far as in the streaming wars, and it just doesn't make sense at this point for them to just not take advantage of this and continue to build to their subscriber base. Yeah,
I did hear an interesting argument against that, because we have to remember with HBOmax, their subscribers have not been consistent.
No,
very similar to after season 1 of Mandalorian finished, a lot of Disney Plus subscribers went away and then returned when Hamilton dropped.
Right.
But still, I think a lot of Disney Plus subscribers are still staying on. And the fact that Mandalorian wraps up this month, and then next month we know WandaVision is going to drop. So why would you cancel? It's month to month. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they announced it, but I also am no longer unsurprised if they don't, considering they are not as dire. We need to get a substantial, consistent subscriber basis for Disney Plus.
Yeah, but there's also the point too where if you delay it too much and you have so much content that you back up, then you're going to start stepping on your own product. So it's better to go ahead and stick to the May, even if they stick to the May release date, go ahead and release it both in the theaters and on Disney Plus, and that way they can still. I don't think they'll move the. I'm not advocating they move the date up. I think they just stick to May, but do it do the simultaneous release, and that way you can still keep. You don't have a glut of films that then, because even whenever we can go back to the theater, if you backload back to back so many films, I mean, there's only so many dollars can go around, and I think you'll win you may win the proverbial battle, but may lose the war because people just aren't going to go flock to see all these things, especially when you may have the option of staying home still if you don't feel comfortable. And like I said, I mean, I think the theater experience will change. It's clearly going to have to change after this game-changing move by Warner Brothers.
Oh, I think what's going to happen is this move will normalize streaming. And the longer we go without theaters being open, theaters being accessible, and people feeling safe going to them, the further we get to that being a familiar experience.
True. Yeah.
So I agree with you. It's never going to be what it was.
Yeah.
And and there are pros and cons to that. But to go back to the release date and dropping Black Widow, I think you're right. I think that there's a bigger likelihood that Disney will just say, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to do that too with our slate. Because what Disney has going for it that WB doesn't really have is that they have these TV series now.
Right.
Which are tied in to the movies. And so what we were talking about last week with Florence Pugh, she's in Black Widow.
Yeah, she is.
And that's a major plot point for Black Widow.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we need to see Black Widow before Hawkeye comes out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Right. That's true. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that was one of the reasons why I think WandaVision was going to come first before Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I think I even heard some rumors that maybe Black Widow might even be in that too. So, so at least Florence Pugh's Black Widow. So again, if you back things up too much, then it starts to mess up your continuity of storytelling and getting these properties out there for consumption.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that too, with the streaming wars and of course the Disney investor meeting coming up this Thursday, I did see where over the weekend Collider was reporting that Disney is looking to combine Hulu and Disney Plus as well. So again, that's another plus up for Disney. That you can add another millions of subscribers under the Disney Plus umbrella, so it can just be one omnibus huge streaming site instead of being diffused in various platforms. I mean, I would be happy if they did that, because it'll just be easier. Be one less subscription that I have to have, even if it means just the price point for Disney Plus going up a little bit.
Oh, I think it would go up for sure.
Yeah.
Almost doubled probably, just because then you're adding in all of these, like, I watched This Is Us on on Hulu.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a lot of the more traditional network shows,
mm-hmm.
which also has a huge audience for, and an audience that Disney Plus probably isn't getting right now.
That's a good point. Yep.
But you're also getting a bunch of reality TV shows, and there's so many different stations that if you just go through Hulu, you realize how many different channels are all under that umbrella.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a genius move to kind of to broaden their ability to obtain subscribers,
mm-hmm.
and also just to make it more parallel to Netflix and Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix and Amazon, they may not have all of the fancy known brands, but they also were the ones to start it all and have really developed original content that allow people to just want to have it. And then they have all of their movie catalogs that they own. So
and to your point about network shows, I mean, Netflix still, do they still have The Office? I mean, which still trends very highly now, since Nielsen actually ranks the streaming programming on these various platforms each week. And I think it's still, some of these legacy shows are still in the top 10 as far as what people stream. So adding a Hulu, like you said, with a proper, with IP like This Is Us and other, established network-based shows, again, that's definitely diversifies Disney Plus to be more, like you said, like a Netflix and an Amazon type of platform, which is just a win for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Ava DuVernay is creating a new series, Naomi, based on the DC comic character by the self name. Like, the character's name is Naomi.
Yeah, the character's name is Naomi. Yeah, so Ava's definitely like building her DC resume, because she's got the New Gods. She's got this Naomi. We talked about DMZ, I think, a week or so ago, and each of these series, two of them definitely have focus with colors of character, and this was this Naomi series is a little bit different in that it's not based in a big metropolis or everything. It's going to be in a small town, but again, she's building that DC empire of her own slate. And I know it's going to be on the CW, which is like, okay, will it get CW-fied? but maybe it won't. Maybe she'll have enough creative control over it that it will have its own flavor and stick to the comic book that it was based on.
Oh, what is going on with New Gods? Is that it's still in pre-production or?
Yeah, I think it's still in pre-production, but I think it's but it's definitely going to go forward. But I haven't beyond. I don't think anyone's been cast, or I can't recall if she was doing screenwriting or if she was going to hire someone else.
Yeah. I that's the one thing that, as much as the name Ava Duvernary impresses me and makes me excited about a project, I also just think to myself, okay, lady, when are we getting this? You sign yourself up for everything.
Yeah.
So, and then it always surprises me when I see a trailer for something and I'm like, I didn't even know she was working on that.
Exactly. She's got deals everywhere, and she's got her deal with Warner, and I think she's got her deal with Netflix. So she's a powerhouse, and as we joked a few weeks ago, I mean, it's another with the CW with the Painkiller, and then Wonder Girl, and here we got it. Again, another character of color. Even though we lost Black Lightning, but they're adding again another superhero of color on the CW, which is good for representation and stuff. So hopefully, as I said, hopefully it will. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the comic book, but this will give me an opportunity to learn about a new one when I go to the shop, and I'll see how it looks whenever it gets put on live action.
Yeah. You do that research and just tell me all about it. I'll wait for the actual show.
I will do so.
Speaking about the CW verse, as they refer to it these days, David Ramsey, Arrow alum, returns as Diggle in Batwoman, The Flash, Superman and Lois, and Supergirl, and Legends as well, as a mystery character. I know you put it on the rundown.
Yeah.
Probably going to be with Green Lantern, but a part of me is just like, are they ever going to do it?
This is Diggle's the crossover this year.
It's the biggest, every day one people have speculated about that, and it's just, and they've done so many hint. We thought we were going to even see it in Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they decided to go a different way with that crossover, because that crossover was so successful. Oh my God. So maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe you're right. Maybe Diggle's the crossover this year, and because they've screwed up Crisis on Infinite Earths so much, they're just like, we're going to give the viewers what they really wanted for the past decade.
Yeah, but also, that's true. I mean, I know you like to beat up on Crisis. I actually, we talked about this last week, that normally this time during of our shows we would be talking crossover right now, and so it is kind of it's fitting that we at least get some Arrowverse to talk about some possible crossover with the beloved character that is John Diggle, and like you said, one folks have been hoping for a very long time. And I'm glad he's back. I mean, it makes sense as far as if they to continue the legacy of Arrow, having a core character like Diggle show up on all these other shows, and also I think David's going to be directing some episodes as well. So I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, I guess maybe this will be their way of doing a crossover next year.
Yeah, that's another thing I can't wrap my mind around. Will there be a crossover next year? How will that work given the already precarious production restrictions
Yeah.
everyone has?
Yeah.
And just hearing from all of the interviews over the years about the logistics of these crossovers. Yeah, if they pull something off, it'll be very impressive, more
Yeah.
impressive than any other crossover before, just given the state of production right now.
True.
But for all we know, they're gonna do a COVID crossover. Because I see all these previews for these network shows,
Yeah.
like Grey's Anatomy and a few others, where they're clearly using COVID.
Yeah, what's the courtroom show? I'm blanking. Madam, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I saw a commercial earlier in the week, and it had the plexiglass up and stuff. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how if the Arrowverse shows integrate real world things into their storytelling.
Yeah, I kind of just hope not.
Yeah, yeah.
We need it to escape, but you never know. You never know. I see pros and cons. There is one last bit of news to talk about before we jump into the Mandalorian episode breakdown of the week. Earlier this week, it came out that Elliot Page is transgender, and all of his credits are being updated for all previous movies that he has been involved in the past.
Yeah, I saw that earlier this week, and happy transition to or come. Okay, I know there's like a proper term for it. I'm blanking on whenever you announce that you're coming into your true self. But congratulations to Elliot, and wish him all the best. And I think he joins several other actors and actresses who are part of the transgender community, and will hopefully be a role model for many folks moving ahead.
Yeah, I think this is fascinating. Just from the perspective of the fact that they're changing the credits.
Mm-hmm.
He currently is a star in the Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
Right.
And so season 3 will be I think might bring more viewers to the table, because everyone will want to see how they explain what has happened to that character.
Right. Because I think, because did I read where they were going to integrate that into the story as well?
Which would make perfect sense. I mean, Elliot Page, for all intents and purposes, plays Elliot Page on that series. Minus maybe the powers, but pretty sure it's like the same character. And just given the pathos of that character, I think that can be easily done. But again, it's just the idea that this is the first time anything like that has occurred.
Yeah.
Where you have a star who goes through that change, and the show has to adjust to it. Yeah.
It really is. And you're right. I think you're right that people will, if they were already fans, of course they'll tune back in, but it may capture some new fans to see how they address it and in the story moving forward.
Yeah, my one recommendation: skip season 1, go straight to season 2, because the season 2 finale is really good. All right, Mandalorian, the tragedy. Okay, I have been preparing to talk about this episode. I just need to go through my notes, because I have some really good notes in Okay. All right. No, that one actually is interesting. Did you delete all of my good? Oh, okay. Here we go.
No, I didn't touch anything as far as
right.
Mando. No, I did not touch a thing on the rundown as far as your notes on the tragedy.
It's all on the second page.
Yeah.
Okay, so about halfway through the episode, I suddenly had to write. Okay, getting some serious Power Ranger vibes. Which, okay, if anybody is a Power Ranger fan, you know I'm right. Because the location of the fight sequences in this episode are pretty on par with fight sequences in Power Rangers. Because they were always fighting in like a very desert mountain hill area. And there's this one moment where I think her name is Finnick.
Yep, Finnick
is running after the stormtroopers like are trying to like shoot her, and she's just running away, and I'm just, that is so Power Rangers. And that's another thing. Stormtroopers still no way they can shoot a gun. They just they're not marksmen.
They're not. Yeah, they need to all go back to the like remedial rifle training school, because it's got to be a defective thing in their scopes in their helmets at this point, and that's the only thing I can figure.
Yeah, it just was so painfully obvious in this episode, given how long these fight sequences are. But the other thing, I wrote a few more. I wonder if Boba Fett would drink boba tea. Can they make that happen on the show? Because that would be hilarious.
Remember, there was a helicopter in the show this week, so maybe that could happen.
Yeah, somebody needs to plant a boba tea next to Boba Fett on screen. Oh my god! And then I just shout, "They took my baby!"
It took my baby. It took your baby. It blew up the car.
I did start to write this and then quickly deleted it just because of how emotional I got with the last image of Baby Yoda. Yeah, I know, Grogu, but still, it'll take some time. I did initially write, wouldn't it be funny if Grogu is the real villain of the whole thing? Because he essentially causes the rise of Skywalker.
He does.
He does.
Grogu is he is. If it wasn't for Grogu, we would not have Snoke, and we wouldn't have Ben Solo.
Oh my god. So I think based on those 4 bullet points, you know my thoughts on the
episode. If you're coming here for the for like Christian Harloff-esque analysis, you're at the wrong place.
No. That's why we have Will, and we get his thoughts too.
Yeah,
and we always let Will go first, except for tonight when I go first.
Actually, I didn't get Power Rangers vibes. I was thinking of an episode of Deep Space Nine, actually, where it was a very similar type of locations, and where Cisco and the Federation were fighting the Jem'Hadar, and similar thing where but the difference is that Jem'Hadar can shoot.
Yeah.
They actually hit their targets.
Somebody shoots on any one of these shows.
Yeah, they actually hit their targets, unlike the stormtroopers. But I mean, it's kind of, well, where do I go?
Oh,
I'm like at a loss. I'm at a loss. I can't follow your succinct breakdown of the episode there. Just kidding.
Sorry, I'm like tearing up again. I was laughing so hard. But or no, I'm so sad about Grogu. I'm so sad.
Well, you left out the big thing.
I am really.
No, you left out about the Razor Crest. I was waiting for your line on the Razor Crest.
What?
The ship.
I don't have a line about the ship.
I know. I was waiting for one. You got everything else but the Razor Crest.
What was I supposed to say about it?
I don't know.
How I feel. Now he's just criticizing my notes.
I'm not criticizing
We're
anything.
supposed to criticize the show.
I'm not criticizing your notes. I was hoping you had your boba tea, and you had your baby Yoda, and I was just waiting for your. Didn't know if you had anything to say about the Razor Crest.
No, all I it's kind of a tangential point is that I wrote Mando has a new crew now. He's clearly upgraded. And that's not referring to the loss of Grogu. It's referring to other people who he was part of his crew in the first season, if you catch my drift. Got it.
Got it.
I think I also know why you don't know where to start, because they telegraphed the ending of this episode with the title.
Yeah. Well,
and pretty much every subsequent scene.
Actually, I was surprised that they actually got the Typhon so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really thought, what I thought was going to happen was they would, go to usual form with this show. They're on their mission. They're on their way to Typhon, and then they would run into another frog lady or something like that, where they get diverted into some side mission. But they went straight to it. I mean, they did this week, and they had their cute moment with where we were flying with the windows down. So
yeah. So when you said where they run into another frog lady, all that started playing in my mind was frog lady got run over by a Mando. Oh, someone write that song. You're right. So for about the first 5 minutes, I was thinking to myself, wow, they got here quickly. And I wonder if the tragedy, if it's more of a fake out where you think that, oh, clearly Moff Gideon is gonna snatch Grogu from Mando, and it's a fake out because we're gonna hear about the tragic past of Grogu and how he, we got the bullet points last week.
Yeah.
But to actually see and hear that full story would be really interesting. And of course, there are some holes that we all want to be filled. But no, it was not a fake out. This was all designed. And what really irritated me was the whole, okay, you're on the scene, Rock. And then it just, the moment it ends, all of the dark troopers are there and they just snatch Yoda. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was, to your point, this episode, it was good that it was tight as far as the timing, because I mean, it was. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I really did. I did not, like I said, it did not go to my expectation as far as where they were going to go, and I mean, obviously, as far as the timing, I figured we would get Gideon taking Grogu at that would be our cliffhanger at the end of the season or something like that. But it came in episode 6, and of course, Mando's putting together a new gang to his new Avengers to go after Moff Gideon and the rest of the remnants of the Empire. Yeah,
there's probably about 10 minutes of this episode I couldn't stand. But then looking back retrospectively, there were all of these tie-ins to previous episodes.
Yeah.
Which was really good to start to see. I mean, episodes from season 1, we got Boba Fett. And honestly, Will, I don't know about you, I kind of forgot about that hint in the very first episode this season.
Oh, did
I was so wrapped up in everything that happened last week that I was like, oh yeah, we were promised Boba Fett.
Yeah, as soon as, I didn't forget that, but I was like, when I saw Slave One flying down and to the scene and to the planet there, I was just like, he's back. And I was, I had definitely had that geek out moment where I was like, okay, we got Boba Fett, and then we actually got the Boba, what fans have been wanting for all this time, with Boba Fett. He finally lived up to the reputation for for a guy who just got knocked into the Sarlacc pit by Han's errant wave of the staff and Return of the Jedi. So, with seeing the capabilities of his fighting skills and stuff, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I appreciated all of his fight sequences were great.
Yeah.
There was just the ones where it just felt like if maybe this wasn't a TV series, would there be a better way to film these sequences and not make it look so clearly staged? That drove me crazy, and constantly writing comparisons about Power Rangers.
Yeah.
But there were those character moments and payoffs where I'm like, yeah, originally I was like, because I hate when all it is fighting. But if I take out that bit, the rest of it moved the plot forward. It was very tight. We didn't spend 5 episodes getting there.
Yeah.
It was very next episode, and now there's a clear end game, if you will. I mean, next week will be about getting this prisoner that they need to add to the crew, to like the 5th member, and then we get the showdown, and also just what everyone's talking about, just something we've speculated on, is as much as there is this beautiful father-son bond between Mando and Grogu, how much has that affect him and how he uses the Force? And Ahsoka didn't want to train him because of that bond, and we've seen how these types of bonds, when you're dealing with a Force-sensitive creature or person, it tends to lead them to the dark side. It just does.
It does. And honestly, I think, to your point, Gideon was using that, and will probably use that even more now. Because when he walks into the room and seeing Grogu just playing, whacking these stormtroopers together, and showing, really acting out that anger and stuff, and he even comments on it, and whenever he walks in, so he's definitely getting him primed and getting those midichlorians and that fear and that anger even amplified, so that they can use it for obviously creating Snoke. So, which
is weird though, because Ahsoka says that Grogu is afraid to use his powers because of what the First Order has already done to him, and kind of living in this fear. So maybe now that he's been captured, it's kind of like, now I'm in self-defense mode, and this is what Mando taught me to do, like survival.
Yeah. And that's another thing of their relationship that has definitely rubbed off on to Grogu from Mando, which is how to, how that survival instinct, which is a very strong one, clearly with Mandalorian. I mean, you look at Boba Fett with what he went through from Return of the Jedi to here we are 5 years later, and he's walking around, trying to get his Mandalorian armor back.
Yeah, that these characters, they don't die unless they die.
Unless they die, unless you're Django, unless you get decapitated, and then you're.
Unless you're Ben Solo, he died.
Yeah, he died. Yeah, there are some who die and they stay dead, and then there's others who become Force ghosts, and then there's others who, like Fennec, who become cyborgs.
But not Rey. Rey lived.
Yeah.
Even though she did die.
Yeah. She did die. But she was kissed and brought back together. Yeah. So yeah, she was brought back with a kiss. So.
All right. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about regarding this episode?
Just a couple just little geek notes that I just happened to come across. One that I thought was with Boba Fett in particular, a line that he says, "I'm a simple man making my way through the galaxy like my father." I'm pretty sure Django said that same thing to the Camino folks. Or similar whenever he met Obi-Wan back in Attack of the Clones. I may be mistaken, but I thought that was a very similar line to that. And then the other piece is just I think I saw where someone had actually translated the code that Boba Fett showed to Din Djarin at the end, that basically talks about how the Fett line, as far as how how his father came into the Mandalorian order, and basically Boba Fett and Din Djarin are both adopted into the Mandalorian order. They weren't like born into it, which is one of the things that was translated from that piece at the very end of the episode, when he said, "This is definitely your armor belongs to my family." So, but yeah, I mean, but you're right. I mean, I think the fighting sequences could have dragged on longer and would have really slowed up the episode. But when I have to say, whenever it finished, I was like, "That's it," because I was really hopeful. I was really surprised how not only one that they got to this point in the story, but two, how fast the episode went.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we got two more to go.
Yeah.
So, first of all, okay, everyone, there's a homework assignment.
Okay.
You're listening to this show. You need to tweet at Will that he needs to start watching Queen's Gambit.
I started. I did start. I did. I just can't. It's just not working for me. I'm so, as of yet.
Is it because how far are you? Did you finish an episode or did you stop?
I have made it through. I've made it to 2 episodes, and I'm trying to hit the play button for episode 3, but I just can't do it. I ended up watching The Flight Attendant instead. Okay,
but she actually played chess, right?
Yeah.
You saw Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
yeah, I binged it, and when I started it, I was kind of like, oh, this reminds me of like, oh, I'm blanking on the name. I want to say Matilda, but I'm not sure if that's the correct name. But those old 90 movies about a girl in an orphanage and everything. And I was kind of like finicky about that. But then the second through about the 7th episode, I was all in, just because Anna Taylor-Joy is so good in this role. And there's just something about their ability to make chess interesting.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I'm looking forward to the early scenes where she is, like, whenever she's still in the orphanage and learning, those were pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't. The rest of the story, I mean, as far as like her getting pulled out and adopted by that family and their issue, I mean, it just, I don't know. Maybe I tried it this weekend. I mean, different times during the day, so it wasn't like I was tired or anything. It just did not. It just, and I know it's like very popular and stuff, but so far it just hasn't resonated with me yet. But I mean, like I said, yeah,
Very popular. You say that as if like only only 1 million people have watched it.
No, I know how popular it is. I mean, it's like trending like the top thing on Netflix. Yeah, I know.
2 million households. That's insane. And correct me if I'm wrong. Netflix usually doesn't give out their numbers.
They don't. I think this is but yeah, was this from the Nielsen rating or was this yeah.
It's just crazy to me. I'm not even the biggest fan of it because I think it's a good 3 episodes too long. Because there are some definitely dead episodes towards the end, and there is, I wouldn't be me if I didn't say this. There are some parts I skipped.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's definitely something to check out, and like what you're noticing right now, either people will tune in and really like the story or not. Something that does irritate me, though, about it is that it's not based on a true story. So do not go in thinking, oh, this is a real person, because it's not.
It's not. And nobody will be writing letters asking them to, make it clear that it's historical fiction.
And so now the moment everyone's been waiting for, since he already dropped this bit of news, what are your thoughts on the flight attendant?
Yeah, so as I messaged you last week, and I'll share with our listeners now, it is one of those shows where you want to look away, but somehow it just keeps sucking you back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It definitely is. And so, yeah, it'll be a part of my rotation over the next little while.
Are you caught up, or have you only watched like the first 1 or 2 episodes?
I finished the first 2 this weekend. So
okay,
yeah,
okay. The one they aired this past week, I thought was one of the better episodes.
Okay.
Because they do a lot more with her and her brother.
Okay.
Yeah, some pretty good stuff. But yeah, it's the flight attendant, or rename it and call it Trainwreck. But it's really weird.
Yeah.
And it makes, since my mom told me it was based on a book, it makes more sense why it somehow works.
Yeah. Well, I think Queen's Gambit was also based on a book too, if I recall. Yeah.
Yeah, an old book.
Yeah.
Like it's more popular now than it was 35 years ago when it was first released.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course it is.
Yeah. The other thing I want to recommend that I've watched recently is Amazon dropped a new Amazon original movie called Sound of Metal with Riz Ahmed and Olivia Cook. It's a movie that I believe was supposed to come out. We've been probably this year. It was being looked at last year in all of the festivals, and it is definitely something, if you have Amazon Prime, to watch. This is a sound editor's dream, because the premise is that a rock band drummer suddenly loses his hearing. And he then gets sent to a rehab facility because, he's a former drug addict, and learns how to be deaf, essentially. And why I say it's a sound editor's dream is because what they do with the manipulation of sound and perception is very intriguing. And I was just in awe of it, because there are so many little details in terms of when they show the oh my god, I'm blanking on, I'm tired. When they show certain things, when you can hear certain things, when you can't hear certain things, And there's so much has to do with perception, but there's a lot of details in how they craft this movie.
Nice. Huh. Sounds very interesting. I know one that I want to check out is the new Fincher
Yeah.
film that dropped, I think, this past weekend as well on Netflix. Isn't Gary Oldman's in it?
Yep.
Yeah. So is it
Mank?
Mank? Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, it's
think
like Mank. Yeah.
Although Kevin Smith tweeted out a line of dialogue from it about the film industry and how it sells the product, the only product that the buyer doesn't actually buy, because what we buy is an experience, a memory, and the owner of that product still owns it.
Yeah, I saw you retweeted his line of dialogue from that, and yeah, that's what even piqued my curiosity even more when I saw Kevin send that out. So yeah, so like I said, it's definitely one that is on my list. I think it chronicles the making of Citizen Kane.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think over the holidays it'll definitely be, if not sooner. I'll check it out.
Well, that is it for us tonight. Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk. That's WILLMPOLK.
You can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, but most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.